morning, good afternoon, good evening. The problem with Africa is that some of our leaders have failed to embrace the fundamental truth that change is part of nature. The choice is you can have peaceful democratic change, but if you refuse to take that and you think you can stop change, what you have effectively done is chosen for yourself violent and sudden and destructive change. This is the president of Tanzania. The events of the last few days have made her age very quickly. Sleepless nights. Not being sure what's going to happen next. Every sound is amplified in your head. Is this the final call? All because she was trying to hang on to power and was resisting peaceful democratic change. The country is burning down. And she's helpless to do anything to stop it. What she's worried about now is whether she'll be bent with it. Here are some of the video clips of some of the things that have been happening in Tanzania. Utter chaos and devastation. Apparently, some of the people are now targeting the houses of Tanzania's ruling elite and their collaborators. Here is a Tanzanian intellectual explaining exactly what is happening there.
Tanzania will never ever be the same again. The tide has turned in Tanzania. The consciousness, the collective consciousness of the people of Tanzania is finally going to determine what happens next in that great African country. They are not just protesting, they are demanding freedom. They are not requesting for their freedom, they are demanding that freedom is their portion, freedom is their right. And finally, they're saying, Tosha, enough is enough. Amongst the things that they're doing is destroying property that belongs to celebrities and prominent people who continue to be diehard supporters of the ruling regime. The people of Tanzania are saying, we created you celebrities and we are now going to destroy you. And there's truth in that statement because for too long, corrupt regimes are usually enabled by a middle class, upper class, business people, prominent people who benefit from the corruption of respective ruling regimes, which is why the people of Tanzania are strategically saying, if you are going to continue playing a role in keeping us in chains, we're coming after you. Because sovereign power belongs to us. So don't say that they're breaking any law. They're simply using their power to ensure that their constitutionally guaranteed political freedom, their constitutionally guaranteed freedoms can be protected. Yesterday, the people of Tanzania, by and large, did not legitimize an election that was deeply flawed. They refused to play a part in that. They completely refused to do that, which is why the voter turnout was completely dismal. Many of them went as far as destroying those polling stations. Now, I will never be a proponent of violence, and I am not defending any violence. All I'm saying is that sovereign power is vested in the people, and from time to time, the arc of history demands that they wield that power in ensuring that the political leaders who are their servants and not bosses actually do their bidding.
I could have put it better myself. This is the tragedy of Africa. We have the ruling elite who have exercised power and deny the people a meaningful say in the governance of the country. This is at the heart of it. Individuals get into power and they believe they have the divine right to rule. It is important here to note, and I think this is particularly relevant in the case of Zimbabwe. The voter turnout in Tanzania was very, very low. This is in stark contrast to what has been happening in Zimbabwe. The people of Zimbabwe knew the elections were being rigged, but they were conned again and again by the opposition to participate. And in 2023, nearly 2 million participated and voted for Chamisa because they had believed his idiotic lie that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes to stop ZANU-PF rigging the elections. Of course, he was lying. Few days before the election itself, he still maintained that he was winning. He even evoked the name of God. Hashtag God is in it.
Makorokoto Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu anomira kana denga raronga plan. Denga raronga plan, denga harifo iri. Plan yaMwari haifo iri. Ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
Of course, he was lying. Day after the voting was done, he was the one saying the elections were rigged. The very thing that he had said was not going to happen. The key point here is millions of ordinary Zimbabweans believed him, and they participated in those flawed elections, and thus gave the regime legitimacy. In Tanzania, the people have said no, they're not going to participate. And in some cases, they've gone one step further. and destroy the polling stations. The other important point here is that the people of Tanzania have now started targeting ZANU-PF ruling elite, they are Chama Cha Mapinduzi ruling elite, and those whom have benefited from the regime over the decades and have been propping it up. I think that is important. In Zimbabwe, we have got ZANU-PF, but it would be naive to think that ZANU-PF would have managed to stay in power all these years without the tacit support of many individuals. The chiefs, headmen, who come elections have received presents from the regime. And these have been graded going up all the way to the MPs and senators who received the $40,000 called housing loans. Church leaders, directors of the CIO and so forth, police and so forth, they each got a share of these so-called housing loans. Right up to the judges who got $400,000 housing loans just a few weeks before nomination day. Deputy ministers, $230,000. Ministers themselves, $500,000. I think the people of Zimbabwe should know their enemy too. These people have got all this wealth to help keep ZANU-PF in power. Mnangagwa has been dishing out cars and other presents, including bicycles to war veterans, for no other reason than to buy their blind support and loyalty. The people of Zimbabwe should wake up to that reality and turn the situation around. This is totally unsustainable. I think this intellectual is saying something that those Zimbabweans who have benefited from the ZANU-PF dictatorship would be well advised to take note of. Because they are just as guilty as their counterparts in Tanzania whose properties are being destroyed right now. ZANU-PF has resisted change and has managed to get away with it for the last 45 years. But anyone with any sight at all will tell you that the regime's days are numbered. This is a video. This is not Tanzania. This is Zimbabwe. This is not in 2017. This is Zimbabwe last night. Uganda would have done. It was a others would have been in listen, don't tell us the advice. Mukamunda kubaviwa tata. Ndozo kanu mwanda kwenye uko zokana hizo. Ndozo hapa chini. Sio. Ndozo. Sio sisi. Ndozo hapa chini. Hapa chini. Ndozo. Manda uti. Usiku waje wataza hapo town. Sio. This is the reality. We live in a country where nothing is safe. The threat of violence is real. And it will be very naive to think that we are somehow immune to it. Change is nature. Those who refuse to accept peaceful change necessarily opt for violent change. And after decades of refusing peaceful change in Zimbabwe, peaceful democratic change in Zimbabwe, we are now a candidate for violent change. And the problem with violent change is no one will be in control of it. And it may cause a lot of destruction of property and lives. All because those in power think they can resist change. Those in power believe they have the divine right to rule. And they will use all means at their disposal to resist peaceful change. Mnangagwa gave his State of the Nation address on Tuesday. He didn't mention that the regime is going to implement even one token reform to enable the country to have peaceful, free, fair, and credible elections in 2028. So we are heading for yet another rigged election. And we know that this is just stoking the fires, the anger in the people. It's just a matter of time before the people of Zimbabwe go back on the street again to carry out street protests. And it is a matter of time before they prevail and the regime is finally swept aside. Like all other dictatorships before it, this ZANU-PF dictatorship will go. It's just a matter of time. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon.